So we are going to start with the next part, that is cloud service lifecycle management. We'll discuss this is most of the software engineering part of cloud computing, and cloud services are there. And myself, Dr. Animesh Chaturvedi, as you know, I'm currently assistant professor at IIIT Dharwad. Previously, I did my postdoc from King's College London, and which was being funded by Alan Turing Institute. I did my PhD from IIT Indore, and my MTech is from IIIT DM Jabalpur. So the cloud service life cycle. So the cloud service lifecycle, we are going to discuss how the development, testing, and maintenance phase works out. This is normal software engineering life cycle. So first of all, in we are taking material from the research paper, and they it's a good research paper, and they said that service analysis is the first part of cloud lifecycle. So what they said that identification and contextualization of market requirement, service, how the service reuse could be done. So the strategic mapping that what should be the process, how the we proceed in future, data should be there, how the data storage should be there, application diagram, all these things are being written in service analysis. Thereafter, service designing, again, the detailed modeling and drawing would take place. So in this service designing, like detailed model for the service and specification for the cloud, how the development could be there, reuse could be there. So this is cloud service lifecycle, defining the service idea for implementation, how the service could be implemented. So there's a marketing and sales, which is communicating with service analysis, service design, service implementation, service publishing, service operation, and service retirement. And you also need to do what sourcing, that what are the client requirement, and purchasing, how they are going to do purchasing, how you are going to build that whole system. So in the second, after in the third part, that is service implementation. So in the service implementation part, you have to do either software would be technical, or that's service characteristic you have to study, executable, non-technical service environment you have to study. Then cloud should have also with service that application packages and supporting of software services. So these things you have to means as a developer you have to start developing and knowing the technical details of this part, and you need to do the executables, non-technical services needs to be studied. So these application packages are being built and being produced. Then traditional software implementation is being there, how to use traditional software implementation, service publishing, how to how you publish it to the your client, to the users, the task of registration, how the service should be registered to a particular marketplace, and how you'll deploy it in a repository like Google App Engine or something like that, Heroku, etc. What should be the access right, what should be the cost, and how should you do the planning for pricing for that model, and service level agreement. You have to do it in service publishing, that when you do the deployment, service publishing could also be said as deployment. Thereafter, service operation, where you'll do the monitoring of how the contract could be managed. Means there is a contract that you have to do the analysis, that monitoring you have to keep on doing. Means there's development has been done, deployment has been done, now your clients are using your service, and you have to do the analysis of SLA compliance, billing, how you are going to do the performance analysis. So all these things you have to do in the service operations. Then service relationship management with the client, with auditor, and all these stakeholders. So how the service maintenance could take place, how you can do the improvement of these services. Then service retirement, how you'll do the retirement of, means when there's a constraint that this technology was old and all the requirement has been fulfilled for the client and client do not want this service anymore, so you need to do the service retirement. Means it has reached some technical barriers or competitiveness, because of competitiveness and some contract activity has been finished, so you have to plan for replacement with the new service, or you have to just discard that old service. So that is service retirement phase. Then in the cloud life cycle, what they are trying to do, they are trying to integrate the cloud lifecycle with the generic management phase. So the generic management phase is like service governance, how the service should work out, how the strategic management should work out, portfolio management, project management, operational management, portfolio management. So these are management terms where you'll study in MBA or this type of courses. So they are trying to model this preparation as strategic management, service analysis as portfolio management, service design, service implementation, service publishing as the project management, and service operation as operational management. Then service retirement as portfolio management. Thereafter, you will study this requirement. So how the requirement should be there, how the discovery should be done, how the negotiation could be done, how compul consumption of that service could be done, then compositioning of that service could be done. So there's in this cloud service life cycle, they just been shown like there's a requirement identification of technical requirement specification, and several policies are being discussed, and a request of policies being done, and new services are being discovered and certified. So these things are being mentioned and available. Then you'll do the negotiation with the client and auditor for as a provider, and you'll mention it in the service level agreement. In the consumer and primary service provider, then you'll have quality of service in mentioned in the service level agreement, that how the primary service provider and dependent service would be work out. Thereafter the compositioning of service cloud would be done, that how the contract should be taken care of, that service composed and dependent services are there. Then consumption of the service is being done by the consumer. So the service monitoring would be done, service payment would be done, service consumed by the client. So this is two parts are there from the perspective of consumer and from the perspective of service provider, service cloud, you can say. So these are the two different perspective. So which are the phases and how the process and data being flows. So there are five basic phases and data flow, like requirement, discovery, negotiation, composition, and consumption. So this has been mentioned by this research paper which was being published in transactional service computing. So they represented these concepts and relationship between these relationship together. So in these five process and data flow diagram. So there's also NIST IT standards for life cycle. This is for general, how requirement phase, how base standard should be set, how the profile of development should be done, how the referencing should be done, testing could be done, deployment could be done. So if that being satisfied, then testing is satisfied, then you'll do the deployment. If testing is not being satisfied, then you'll do the requirement analysis again, and thereafter you'll do the implementation for the requirement. So this is high level conceptual IT standard for the development of product and process and services being deployed in the current scenario. So this is been published in NIT Cloud Computing Standard Roadmap. So I hope this is something very basic related to how the cloud lifecycle or cloud service lifecycle should work out. Then in the next part, we'll see cloud deployment scenario, how the cloud are being deployed, how they are being managed. So till that point, we'll see in the next part. Thanks.